Hello, everybody. I'm Henry Yu, principal of UBC St. John's College and a professor in the Faculty of History. I'm here today with Santa Ono, the President and Vice-Chancellor of UBC, and we're going to talk about Asian Heritage Month. Asian Heritage Month is an opportunity for all Canadians to learn more about the many achievements and contributions of Canadians of Asian descent, who throughout our history have contributed so much to Canada. Like last year, this year, Asian Heritage Month is taking place against a background of anti-Asian racism and racism against other IBPOC groups and individuals, as well as the continued tragedy of the COVID-19 pandemic. First of all, what does Asian Heritage Month mean to you, Santa?
I'm very proud of my Asian ethnicity and all the culture and education and practices that are part of being Asian. But it also means a lot to me because over 50% of the students at UBC are Asian, and they're a very diverse group, and it's a moment to really celebrate what they bring to the institution. Henry, I know that through your historical research and your community activism, that you're very familiar with anti-Asian racism in Canada. What does Asian Heritage Month mean to you, and why is it important to celebrate Asian heritage?
Well, for me, it's actually personal as well. As even though I spend 365 days a year researching as a scholar and teaching students about Asian Canadian history, for me, I'm a fourth generation Chinese Canadian on my mother's side, and I have a more personal familiarity with how my grandfather and his father and his brothers, they really did suffer from discrimination. They couldn't vote. They couldn't, work in many jobs, professional jobs. They couldn't be doctors, lawyers. And so for me, the celebration is also a way of recognizing their struggles to belong, to be, given the opportunity to be able to achieve. And so I'm so glad that we've come a long way. And so we're celebrating how far we've come in Canada and British Columbia, but we also are acknowledging with this month that there's been a long history of anti-Asian racism.
Yes, and it's not over. There still is racism that's systemic, and it flared up during the pandemic, and you played a key role in UBC hosting the National Forum on Anti-Asian Racism. Can you talk a little bit about that?
And it was really your leadership that inspired us to, deal with this problem as an institution. Because, as scholars, as students, we all try to do our own small, contribution to combating anti-Asian racism. But I think your leadership in committing the university, as an institution to combating anti-Asian racism was really important because this is not a new problem. I think that's why it's so important to have an event like the National Forum, recognize that history, recognize the current contemporary issues that so many people are facing, from frontline healthcare workers who were overwhelmingly impacted by COVID to, the types of attitudes about Asians not belonging, being foreign, somehow deserving less respect because they weren't fully Canadian.
But there's also much to be proud of the contributions of Asian Canadians to this nation. From its very inception, from transportation to fishing to healthcare and innovation, and there's much to be proud of as well. And this is in the midst of that racism, Asian Canadians have been contributing to the formation of this province, for the nation, and its links to other parts of the globe.
And I think it's important to recognize those contributions and to celebrate. I think it's important to, be happy that we've had so many great Asian Canadians of various backgrounds do wonderful things to help society be better.
Now, I had a task force, and you were a big part of that, but there were hundreds of UBC faculty, staff, and students that were included, as well as community members. And that's recognizing all of the great work that has occurred outside of the university with community groups, really advocating for inclusion and for increased representation within this university, and also addressing the barriers for them to truly flourish while they're here. Now, the task force is focused on anti-racism and inclusive excellence. To me, actually, the juxtaposition of anti-racism and inclusive excellence gets at this sort of myth, if I may, that there's some kind of tension between those. That if you have a more diverse community, with representation for all. For some reason, that's the antithesis of excellence. Actually, my view, and I'm sure it's yours as well, is that when you have a diverse community of scholars and students and staff, as we do now at UBC, that we celebrate that, but we also recognize that that makes us better in everything that we do, that we make better decisions. It's not just the issue of everyone being part of the university and feeling that they are loved and included and respected, but that their optimal performance as a faculty member, as a staff member, as a student, actually contributes to a better institution.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, thank you very much, Henry.
Thank you. Thank you, Santa, for your commitment.